Devin Booker was terrible last night. 29 minutes, 10 points, 1 of 638 from the floor. This was a bad performance out of the Phoenix Suns. Devin Booker is the star of that team, and he is going to take most of the heat, as he probably should. He was a hero in Game 2 and a 0 in Game 3. And the big question now lingering over the Phoenix Suns is, can they bounce back in the NBA Finals to regain control? And when I say regain control, I think Game 4 is a must-win for the Phoenix Suns. You were up 2-0. The Bucks are feeling good about themselves now. But, Jake, I don't get the idea that this series is over and that all of a sudden the Suns can't beat the Bucks.
No, I think last night was one of those games for the Suns where you just didn't bring your best. I'm not going to say that you didn't show up, but because you had a nice start to the game, but you just didn't bring your best throughout the game. And whether you want to look at DeAndre Ayton's foul trouble, Devin Booker's awful shot selection, Chris Paul's turnovers. There's a number of things in this game that were head scratchers, that were basically just like outside of what they normally do. And, that's why they lost by 20. I felt like early in the game, they did a great job. You get out to a little bit of a lead. I think at one point they had a 5-point lead at the end of the first quarter. And you were like, all right, cool. We kind of survived that first wave on the road. We're off to this nice little start. Everything's cool. But then the second quarter hits and you get torched heading into halftime. Third quarter hits, you get hit with a run. You chop that down to 4 points. Then the Bucks answer you to close out the third. And the fourth quarter was basically garbage time the whole way. So I don't know what you say about it other than the fact that, the Suns just didn't show up. I'm not going to sit here and say that the Suns were tired. You had 3 days off. There's no way you could have been tired. So I just think, to me, this is one of those games where there are definitely things to work on. There are definitely takeaways. But let's not sit here and say that the Bucks somehow, have control of this series now and they're in the driver's seat. The series really hasn't even started yet. The home team has won every game so far. So let's wait and see what Game 4 has to hold.
Well, and I guess the bigger question is, what do you expect out of Devin Booker? This is somebody that I think is critical. And Monty Williams said it after the game that, they targeted Devin Booker, and I just don't think that that's that much of a surprise. Were you surprised with the way Monty Williams answered those questions?
I think that, anytime you lose a game in professional sports, the media is going to be like, oh, well, how do you deal with your best big man fouling out of the game, and how do you deal with Devin Booker going 3 of 14 from the field? Oh, I don't know. I'm gonna take him back to the woodshed and do something to him. What do you want the guy to say? He's gonna sit here and say that Devin Booker was targeted by the defense. I like, what major player is not targeted by the defense? I think. The real frustrating part for me is that the media, and we've had this conversation many a time on this show, right? Like, the media will not ask the question of, hey, why did Devin Booker not really play in the fourth quarter? What they'll ask is, hey, what did you think of Book's performance tonight? And then this is Monty Williams' answer to that.
Their aggression, their defense, they keyed on him. He missed some shots. So that's going to happen. He's been in this situation before, as you guys alluded to. When you get to the finals, it means you've been in a number of situations. So this is nothing new to us anymore. He'll bounce back.
What else do you want the guy to say?
I was, how do I put this mildly? I was shocked that nobody had the stones to say to Monty Williams, why did you bench Devin Booker in the fourth quarter?
Because that's what it was, right?
That's
not too far, right?
Yeah, he got benched. There's no, he did not play well. He was not, he went away from the game plan, Devin Booker, very clearly. And Monty kind of hinted at it after the game, saying that, hey, I told him that we got to be mentally tough. Okay, cool. But what you're saying is we went away from the game plan and we got our ass kicked.
Yeah.
And
because you did get your ass kicked. That was, yeah.
You can spin this, and I was tweeting last night, and a bunch of people were saying, well, this is just resting Book for Game 4. Okay, cool. I get that. He's played the most playoff minutes out of anybody. Totally understand that. it's the NBA Finals. You were down 20 going to the fourth quarter, and Devin Booker didn't play 1 second of the fourth quarter. 29 minutes last night, 10 points out of Devin Booker. You didn't give yourself a chance to win. And I wonder, was that raising the white flag? Well, it didn't feel like it because everybody but Devin Booker played.
Yeah.
I mean, Jake, is there any other way to spin this other than he got benched?
I don't think so. I mean, I think, without a definitive answer from, Monty Williams, without someone asking him and putting him in that position, just going off of what happened on the floor to what you were just saying, every other major player was playing. It wasn't like, he took Book out at the end of the third and then, a couple minutes go by in the fourth, and when it was, Book's time to come back in on regular rotation, Monty Williams waved the white flag. I mean, that's not what we saw. I mean, we saw, Chris Paul and the usuals played until about 4 minutes left in the game, and then garbage time officially started. So I don't know, man. I think that I don't think we need to be sitting here saying that Devin Booker somehow is no longer a star or something, but I do think that this game for him as a guy, as a player, as a leader in this locker room, you can't have 10-point games in the NBA Finals. That can't happen. And this is kind of the crossroads of where I feel like Devin Booker is right now as a player. He is this elite player, right? He is this guy who is a star in the league or a superstar, whatever you want to call him. He's one of the best players in the league, but this is his first NBA Finals. And I don't think the moment was too big for him, but I also don't think right now he is experienced enough to, in the middle of a game, say, okay, listen, I started this game 1-7, just like I did in the prior game. I have to get to the basket. I have to get better shots. I have to get to the line. And that's what you see all the best players in the game do. Whoever you want to point to, when they're struggling to shoot the ball,
Yes.
They get to the basket and they get to the line. And that's something that I think Devin Booker, and frankly, that this team needs him to do. Because again, we can have the officiating conversation if we want to, but the fact is they didn't get to the line almost at all last night.
But see, I'm not even the guy that's going to sit here and blame the officials. Yeah, the calls were, the non-calls against Giannis are embarrassing. Pulling down Cam Johnson's jersey, forearming guys in the back. They just didn't blow the whistle against Giannis. Is that the NBA wanting to have a longer series? Yeah, sure, it might be.
Yeah.
But, by the way, that's not why the Suns lost the game last night. The Suns lost the game because they didn't make shots.
Yeah.
The Suns lost the game because they didn't attack the basket. The Suns lost the game because Chris Paul wants to continue to throw between the leg, behind the back, over the head passes that go out of bounds and get picked off. Just stupid plays out of a veteran. And if we're talking about a guy with experience, guess what? Chris Paul's never been here either. So it's not like Chris Paul is blameless. It's not like Chris Paul has, all kinds of experience leading him to great performances in the NBA Finals because he's never been here before. And I think the thing that stands out to me most is this team, rises and falls with Devin Booker. As important as Chris Paul is and as wet as that mid-range is, I'm telling you, if Devin Booker doesn't score 25, 30 points, it's going to be a tough win for the Suns.
Yeah.
And I don't know. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? I don't know. I'll also say that Deandre Ayton has to be better. And I know that he's the darling and that everybody loves Deandre and he's had the breakout performance here, but I'm telling you right now, Deandre Ayton is doing some things that are killing the Suns. Catch the basketball, my man. If you cannot catch the ball, you cannot play in the NBA. And DeAndre Ayton has a terrible habit of simply not catching the ball. And if you watch the games, he will bobble passes. If you throw it below his waist, forget it. He's not catching it. Last night, he dropped 2 passes, frankly, that were over his head. They were perfect passes for a big. I mean, they're right here for him to go up or dunk or lay up, whatever you want to do. And he straight missed them. And then the other plays that really stand out to you are that he just loses his man. DeAndre Ayton loses his man on defense.
Yeah.
No court awareness, no space awareness. And the other thing that really stood out to me about the Suns last night, they didn't have, it seemed, any idea of what the Milwaukee Bucks were trying to do to them with the Bucks offense. They didn't know what the Bucks were trying to do to them. And that is really surprising for a team that really has been on cruise control for, 3 rounds and has played really good basketball. It just looked like the Suns had no idea what to do defensively, and that was the most shocking thing last night.
Well, I think if you look at the difference between, every team that they've played versus the Bucks, the difference is that the Bucks have, whatever you want to call Giannis. Some people call him a big, others call him like a hybrid 4, whatever you want to call him. The Bucks have a guy in Giannis who can just punish you in the paint. He's bigger, he's stronger, he's more athletic. I mean that's just what Giannis is. And I think, you look at the Clippers series for the Suns, and Deandre Ayton was able to have his way with Zubats most of the time. I mean, Zubats had production in that series, but it's not like Zubats is a player that you're going to sit here and say is going to be series defining or anything, And if you go, further back, again, there's not a staple big man that was really able to do anything to the Suns. So I think this challenge that's in front of them is a little bit different than what they've seen. And yeah, I agree. DeAndre Ayton has to be better. I think that's just a fact of the case. But overall, I think, this whole thing for the Suns, I agree with you, begins and ends with Devin Booker. I mean, a lot of these shots last night that he's taking, again, are like contested threes or like not
tough shots.
Yeah, I mean, they're just not high percentage looks, as people like to call it. So my whole thing would just be, I think that, last night they talked about after the game, prioritizing, getting Ayton the ball early and posting him up and getting him going. And I'm sitting here saying, you've got a guy in Book who can give you 40 or 50 when he gets hot. Like, why would you not get Devin Booker going early, get that jump shot in rhythm, get him going, and then DeAndre Ayton can have seconds. I mean, that's what I'd be doing.
Well, there's also Gabe Ledley in the comments brings up an interesting point. He said it was a Scott Foster cruise, so...
Yeah, there's this whole thing about Scott Foster, about how the betting lines moved and like...
No, it's 11 straight losses by Chris Paul teams when Scott Foster officiates a game.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's not... And I was a little surprised, speaking of media, that last night Chris Paul... I think it was last night he did that. That Chris Paul... He essentially just wouldn't answer the question about Scott Foster.
Yeah.
But I think we all know, I think it's like 11 or 12 straight games that he's lost when Scott Foster officiates the game. And Chris Paul's actually commented on it in the past.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it is, I don't think it's an accident anymore. And I am not a guy that believes in officiating conspiracy theories, even though, Tim Donaghy's been on our show a gazillion times talking about this.
Yeah.
I mean, do you believe that Scott Foster intentionally officiates games so Chris Paul loses?
I don't think it's to that level. I do think that officials and the NBA work to extend series. I do think that happens. And I think that they do that behind the cover of, hey, we're in Milwaukee now, so we're not going to call Giannis for pulling jerseys and forearming people and all that. But the truth of the matter is again, at the end of the day, and I said this about the Jazz and I'll say it about the Suns. Like, we can sit here and use Scott Foster as an excuse, but the facts of the case are, if Chris Paul and Devin Booker both put up 25 to 30 points, they win games. If they don't, then they don't. It's literally that simple. So last night when you're in foul trouble and Devin Booker's 1 of 7 to start the game, and he refuses to go to the basket, and Chris Paul's turning it over. None of that has to do anything with Scott Foster. The officiating has nothing to do with shot selection. So I just am not going to sit here and say that this whole Scott Foster thing is why they lost.
Yeah, well, and it is 12 straight games now, by the way. Driftwood says, turns out this could be a series. Mitchell's never been benched, just saying.
Yeah, but Mitchell's never been to the NBA Finals either.
Are we really going to do Devin Booker?
I told you this was going to come
Donovan
up.
Mitchell?
I told you before the show that this was going to come up in the comments.
Yeah, I think that's weak. Why do I keep reading comments? Says good morning. James Knight. Wow. James Knight says, give me a break. Don't buy into this Chris Paul crap. If it was a Jazz player that complaining, you guys would be shooting them down. Well, actually, I don't think Chris Paul complained about it. I think every one of the Suns last night basically said, we're not going to blame this on officiating. Monty Williams straight up said, I'm not going to get into a public, discussion about officiating.
Which is very different than what the Utah Jazz did, I might add.
Correct. The Suns, I think, just realized they were not aggressive. They were very passive in this game. And I think that's why you see stupid fouls. Like it's so funny the impact that Deandre Ayton's having on this Suns team. Like if DeAndre Ayton wants to win an NBA championship, he's got to be violent. He's got to be aggressive. He has got to control the flow of what happens in the paint. And you have to be able to defend without fouling. And I think the thing that the Phoenix Suns struggled with last night is they could not defend without fouling. And I'll continue to say, hey, it's really cool that Giannis scored like 10,000 points in the paint last night. That's not about Giannis. That's about the Phoenix Suns. Mm-hmm. I mean, not having size because DeAndre Ayton is committing foolish fouls and Frank Kaminsky is having to play heavy minutes. I mean, it's pretty clear that the Suns are going to struggle if DeAndre Ayton's not on the floor in this series. I mean, so you have that last night. You have Devin Booker not shooting well. Was he benched? Is benching strong? All I know is he didn't play in the fourth quarter.
When's the last time Devin Booker didn't play a minute in the fourth quarter?
He was an able-bodied not playing. That, to me, says you were benched. And if that means that Monty was waving the white flag, okay, so be it. It is not surprising that the Milwaukee Bucks won on their home floor. It's not. And I would be stunned if a month from tomorrow, which is when I think we play Game 4, why are there 3 games off?
I don't know, dude. I don't get it.
Man.
I really don't get it. I don't like it. I think that, and this is why I say, back to the officiating thing, if you look at the total package with how the NBA handles these series, especially the NBA Finals, you start to get an understanding that they want to elongate these series. I'm not somebody who believes that, we'll just use Scott Foster as an example this time, but like I'm not a guy who believes that guys like Scott Foster wake up and say, hey, I'm going to intentionally officiate this game so Chris Paul loses.
Yeah.
I just don't think it's that personal for them. I think it's more, hey, we're collectively as a unit, the three of us are going to officiate this game in an effort to, give the Bucks the advantage so that we can elongate this series. So that's why I say, I don't think it's personal. But you take the officiating standpoint, you then look at the way the league office schedules the finals themselves, having 3 days off between games, and you just start to understand, they want this to eat up as much of July as they can possibly get because they're going to be off for a while.
Yeah, but the funny thing is you have an entire offseason of events because of how late the finals are now. Like, I mean, if you think about how different the schedule is, and if you think about, like, we're 3 weeks away and really 2.5 weeks away from NBA free agency.
Yeah.
I mean, the draft is coming up, free agency's coming up.
Well, they want to be the NFL. Let's not beat around the bush. I mean, they want, so like the NFL has something going on year round. There's always conversations, whether you look at the Aaron Rodgers situation, the NFL draft, free agency, OTAs, mini camp, like all this stuff that goes on in the NFL. And the NBA is trying to be that, and I get it. But at the same time, you're just dragging this thing out. And that's why I say last night, the excuse of, not that this is getting run out by the Suns or anything, but like I saw some people saying, oh, the Suns just looked tired. They didn't have, they just didn't have it last night. And I'm sitting here saying, dude, like you had 3 days off. What do you mean you're tired? Like, what does that even mean? I mean, it's the NBA Finals. You had 3 days off. And the more shocking part is with those 3 days off, you look completely unprepared. You looked incompetent last night.
And one of the things that really stands out to me is that I just think Monty Williams is a really good coach.
Yeah. And
it is stunning to me that they just look that ill-prepared.
Yeah, I mean, that's the best way to say it. They were not. And Monty Williams did talk about that last night. You can find it on YouTube where he said, hey, we knew what was coming, but we just weren't prepared for it. We had no answers for how desperate they were going to play. And that's the word that I think you have to use last night. This was a must-win game for the Bucks. Everybody realizes that, right? Like, you're down 2-0, you lose game 3, this series is definitely over at that point. So you had to win last night. So now I think, game 4 is really where the rubber meets the road for this series. Game 4, I would expect the Suns to play a lot better. I would expect Devin Booker to be on a mission, and I would expect them to win, but we'll see.
Is comparing Giannis to Shaq a fair comparison? because I just don't think it is. And maybe I'm biased because I covered Shaq in his prime. I have a lot of respect for him. I've never seen anybody be as dominant as Shaquille O'Neal was. And I just don't see that Giannis is the same player. I don't see that Giannis has the tool bag. I don't see that Giannis has the abilities that Shaq had. And I think that Giannis is I mean, his numbers are impressive, sure. I am not impressed by Giannis. I think the Suns are a very small team. I think that Giannis is, in my opinion, doing everything that he can do to win a championship, and that's great. He's not Shaquille O'Neal. And I will never, I don't know that I'll ever in my lifetime see a player that is as dominant as Shaq was. Giannis is not as dominant as Shaq is. The funny thing is, Giannis doesn't have the offensive game that Shaq had. Shaq actually had a little, hook shot, a jumper. Like, Shaq could actually score without dunking. Mm-hmm. And I just don't. Giannis has a turnaround fadeaway, but he has to be turning to his right to fade. That's really the only shot that he has. I don't know. I understand that Giannis is a very good player, and I'm not trying to disparage him at all. I just don't think he's the best all-around player in the NBA. Well, I'm amazed by the love affair that we are seeing with him.
Well, what are we talking about this morning, though? Like, think about this. Like, every time that anybody compares Giannis to any great player, like whether it's Shaq or otherwise, last night on the broadcast, they're comparing him to, LeBron and Michael and everything, like, which is just ridiculous to me. But anyway, that's a different conversation. But think about what the narrative of last night is and what really happened. The only reason Giannis is a talking point last night is because Deandre Ayton was in foul trouble. Notice that Giannis hasn't really been a talking point.
No.
When Deandre has been on the floor. And
all of a sudden his knee hurts when he's having a tough night.
Yeah.
His knee is. And that's my point. Like, look, and I'm not saying that the knee is not a problem. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that, it shouldn't be. I think the bounce back from that kind of knee injury is nothing short of a miracle. What I'm telling you is Giannis is not as dominant as Shaq was. And I think he's doing it, especially on nights where DeAndre Ayton's in foul trouble. The Suns don't have size.
Yeah.
The zone worked pretty well on Giannis, but it's guys like Cam Johnson, who's a second-year player, who has no idea what to do when he's the weak side help in a zone because you don't practice that scenario. You're just not playing that scenario very often. Giannis, to his credit, took full advantage of that. So, again, I'm not saying that Giannis should be discredited at all. I just don't think that, he hasn't won a championship yet. Let him win a ring, then maybe you can start comparing him to others. But I just, the love affair with Giannis on the whole, I've never understood this.
Well, and I think, and this is where I think Devin Booker has to get to, like Giannis, when you think about Giannis, he's not the reason the Bucks win or lose. And what I mean by that is that when he goes for 40 or 30 every single night, they win and they lose. Like, he's not the reason. He's not what decides their success. Yeah, last night,
I would agree.
Drew Holiday and Chris Middleton were what decided the Bucks' success when it mattered most, when DeAndre Ayton was in the game, when these teams were playing head up. All the garbage time points and all, after DA was out and all that stuff, that stuff doesn't even really, count to me because who's going to stop Giannis at that point? I mean, there's not going to be anybody that stops him.
Jake, but how are you not bringing up the unbelievable contribution of Bobby Portis?
Yeah, whatever, dude. I think that Bobby Portis had a nice moment last night. It is what it is. He's not, yeah.
That might be my least favorite player ever in the NBA.
He's a try-hard guy. He had his moment last night. It's fine.
Bobby. Like, shut up, Milwaukee. Like, you're chanting for Bobby. Do you realize you're chanting for Bobby Portis? Like, what? Hello? Do you know, Bass? It's Bobby Portis. That guy, anyway.
Don't you know who I am?
Yeah, you're Bobby Portis, which means you suck. Anyway. There is nothing likable about Wisconsin.
Nothing. F the Packers.
Okay, I lied.
F the Bucks.
The brat stop.
I want more brats.
There's
And that's
one
it.
likable thing about Wisconsin, the brat stop.
I want more.
Other than that, not a whole lot of redeeming qualities.
No.
You know what I'm saying? Like, anyway, I should stop there.
Mm-hmm.
The Suns are going to win game 4. I think it'll be 169-14 will be the final score. And Devin Booker's...
Rack attack!
Yeah, Devin's going to score 100 points. And then one of the Kardashian sisters will pleasure him.
You're so fucked.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing. Your thoughts on game 4, Jake?
Yeah, I think it goes just like that. That sounds, 100% realistic.
Nailed it. Mitchell Harding says Booker was embarrassing. Bounce back time for sure.
Yeah, dude. Like
Yeah.
see, and that's like I was thinking about this. Like, what's the word to describe his performance? And I have to agree. Embarrassing is I don't think is too strong. Like, I think it's the NBA Finals. You're you're a guy that has for the longest time embraced and idolized Kobe and what he's about, and you've tried to be that guy. And this is your time. I mean, you have to show up. Like I hate to say it, but again, with where he's at in his career and where his stature's at in the league, having 11-point NBA Finals games is not helping you. I mean, like this game 4 for Devin Booker as a player has the chance, if he does his thing, has the chance to be one of the best games he's ever played. But is he going to show up? Is he going to be stubborn and not settle for the jumper? Is he going to push the issue and get to the cup? And that's why I say, like, the point I was trying to get to. Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to hit that. That was my bad. Finger slipped there.
Jeez, Jake.
My bad. Yeah, sorry. Anyway, point is, my point with Giannis and Devin is that guys like Devin, guys like Kobe, Michael, LeBron, KD, those guys decide their team's success. So last night, when Devin Booker puts up 11 points and doesn't play in the fourth quarter, 10 points.
29 minutes.
Yeah, less. Whatever.
1 of 7 from 3, 3 of 14 from the
just
floor.
An embarrassing game. The Suns looked bad.
9 of 31 from 3 for the team.
Yeah, dude.
And by the way, 6 of 7 from Jay Crowder. And the team went 6 threes of the 9 made by the Suns were from Jay Crowder.
And then you look at Giannis and you're like, oh man, he put up 40 and a bunch of rebounds and all this stuff. And I'm like, cool, dude, he does that all the time. He's not why they win games. That's just what he gives you.
Well, the interesting thing about that theory is, which I agree with, I think you knew the Suns were in trouble when Chris Middleton got off early. When he's hitting threes and getting to the line, he finally shot a free throw in this series last night.
But that was like the other thing last night. How many open shots are you going to give Chris Middleton? How many times are you going to go under the screen?
I don't think you'll see a lot of that in Game 4. I think I think you just have to watch a little bit of film in this game and then let it go. This is the worst game, I might say, all season. Certainly in the postseason, this is the worst game that I've seen the Suns play in the
Months.
Chris Paul era. I mean, I have not seen them look that bad, and not that like there just was a lack of fire.
Yeah.
Like they almost walked into that building last night. Yeah, we're going to lose this game.
Outside of the Cam Johnson dunk, I didn't really see much else to write home about.
Yeah, but even Cam Johnson, what was Cam Johnson, like 1 of 7 from 3 or something stupid like that? Cam Johnson last night was 1 of 5 from 3, 5 of 11 from the floor in 14 minutes, or 14 points in 30 minutes.
And yeah.
They're going to lose when you play that way. I think they win Game 4. I think it'll probably be 120, 110, 120, 116. Somewhere in that neighborhood.
My gut tells me that this Game 4 is going to be a lower scoring game, and I think this is going to be a battle of the best players getting theirs and not a high scoring game. That, like, to me, I think that's if you're the Suns, that's the kind of game you have to play. You can't have this shootout style of game and think that you're going to win on the road.
Well, I also think that role players don't play well on the road. Mm-hmm. And I again, in the redundancy department, I know I say that all the time, but I think you look at role players, again, not to keep going back to the box score, but Mikal Bridges, 27 minutes, 4 points, 0 of 2 from 3.
No free throws, right?
Mikal Bridges did not shoot a free throw. I look at Torrey Craig, 15 minutes, 2 points. Cam Payne last night, 25 minutes, 0 of 2 from 3, 3 of 10 from the floor.
How many layups can you miss if you're campaign last
A lot of them. And then you go and you look at the role players for the Milwaukee Bucks at home. PJ Tucker, 7 points, 30 minutes, 3 rebounds, 2 steals, and assists.
And how many fouls? Does it tell you how many fouls he had?
Yeah, 5.
So for PJ Tucker, that's the metric you're trying to look at. How many fouls did he have versus how many minutes did he play? Last night he uses all 5 fouls, which is awesome. You want him using his fouls, and he played a lot of minutes. That's what you want out of him.
Yep, Pat Connaughton, 2 of 4 from 3, role player, 8 points. I look at Bobby Portis. Was a DNP in Game 2 of the series, if memory serves.
Yes.
18 minutes, 11 points, 8 rebounds.
Bobby Portis.
4 offensive rebounds. Like, role players play well at home. They do not play well on the road. And the Suns have largely been able to avoid that. They've played very well on the road. They're the best road team in the NBA. Well, and then you get to Game 3 and you didn't even get off the bus.
Not great.
So I think you just have to write this off. I really do. Hey, we are skyrocketing up the subscriber count
Meteorically.
stuff. We're at about 1,330 subscribers on this show. When we get to 1,500, we are going to give away this Xbox Series S with the Velocity architecture.
Whoa.
I don't even know what that could mean.
Razzle dazzle.
Exactly right. We're going to give this away. All you have to do is hit subscribe, take a screenshot that you're subscribed, and then tag both of us
Both.
on Twitter or Instagram. He is SLC Supercars. I am The Monty Show. Monty, The Monty Show.
Here's the deal. I'm the best there is.
On Twitter or Instagram, just make sure you tag us both with a photo that you're subscribed and you're entered to win. A lot of people are not tagging. And it's cool. We love having you here. And if you're only here for the Xbox, hey, mazel tov, right? I mean, that's cool too. Yeah, hey, thanks for being here. But you got to tag us on social in a photo that you're subscribed. That's the contest. Then we'll give this away when we get to 1,500 subscribers.